What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here at the AC Hotel in Ridgeland, Mississippi. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. How you doing this afternoon, Dakota?
Great, Tyler. We got a great room here at the AC Hotel, the premier hotel here in Ridgeland, Mississippi.
Yep.
We've got it all.
If you're looking for a place to stay, or if you need business meetings, or if you need a cocktail after hours, this is a place.
They got
to do it.
mahjong too.
Yeah. Whatever you said.
Yep.
So, you want to introduce our guest to us?
I do. Today we have special guest Mara Smith, founder and CEO of Inspiro Tequila. Mara, welcome.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. And then what are we sipping on, Dakota?
We are sipping on Naked Malt Blended Malt Scotch whiskey in sherry casks.
Man.
You
know, actually, I will say the second taste is better than the first. So.
Tyler took the first taste off camera, and I thought he was going to throw up. So.
Yeah, so I will say the second taste is pretty good. I actually like it better. I'm not a huge Scotch person, so that's probably got a lot to do with it. I don't like the Scotch taste. So, you know, I'm not going to rate it like a bourbon because it's not a bourbon. But, I mean, for a Scotch, because I've had a lot of Scotches that I absolutely will never drink again. I actually would taste this one again, drink this one again. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay.
So,
it's not as bad as I thought you were going to go.
So the first taste was, I don't know, it was different, but the second I actually liked it. So.
I smelled it and gagged.
Yeah.
But I just tasted it. It wasn't that bad.
It's pretty good.
It tastes way better than it smells.
So you got to take at least 2 sips of it to decide if you like it or not. So it's actually pretty good. Well, we appreciate you coming on today. We like to always start this podcast. If you would give our listeners your background, where you're from, and then how you got to the point of founding your tequila company.
Yes. Hi. So I'm dialing in from the tundra of Chicago, Mara Smith. So founder now and CEO of Inspiro Tequila, but my past is a bit of a pivot. I was a lawyer at a large law firm in Chicago. Then I worked in corporate strategy at McDonald's Corporation. Then I was a stay-at-home mom for over 16 years. So 3 kids, and there you go, drove me to drinking. And next thing you know, I'm starting a tequila company. But really, I found Inspiro Tequila because I discovered that all the tequilas I was drinking contained additives, undisclosed additives. I didn't know they put like sweeteners and aspartame and glycerin and coloring in tequila. And I thought I was drinking something better for you as far as an adult beverage. So I thought, can we create something that's additive free, but still really easy to drink, smooth, sippable? And we also focus on female consumers because 52% of tequila drinkers are women, but brands just usually don't focus on women when they're talking about hard alcohol. So I set out to do that in February 2020, ideal timing before the entire world shut down. But it's been quite a journey.
We've talked to a lot of business owners who have started, founded, launched in early 2020 and then just got hit out of nowhere. I mean, obviously with the COVID shutdown and everything, just right off the bat. So what was that like for your business to just, you know, get that huge pushback immediately and then try to grow from that too?
Yeah, you know, I think obviously COVID was terrible, but the good and the bad for me was that although I couldn't get to Mexico for a very long time for production because they kept closing down every time we try and go. So I couldn't get there till May of 2021 to like do our first tasting. On the other hand, it really gave me time to like study everything, learn about the industry, take courses, and kind of educate myself and do a lot of preparation work before launching. So, you know, we had a lot of time at home. Granted, it was also, you know, a little chaotic because I also had 3 kids like homeschooling. So I was trying to like do this and start a company while I had like all these people in my house. But I think it gave me some time. It also allowed me to connect with a lot of people that I could learn from, because before that, it would be before the days of kind of like using Zoom regularly. Had I reached out to like these industry experts and asked them if they'd take a half hour time to meet with me, it probably never would have happened. It would have required like a meeting in person, and that's 2 hours, and I never would have got in touch with them. But I think because of the circumstance, I would reach out to people and get that half hour like Zoom meeting. And I was able to like really connect with a lot of people. So that part was beneficial too.
Yeah. Well, I know you briefly touched on it, but what gave you the inspiration to say, hey, I want to launch a company and it's, tequila? Where did that come from?
Yeah. So like a little bit of temporary insanity there, which I think any founder kind of has to have. So I knew I wanted to start a consumer product. I knew it was going to be something in food or beverage. So we started with that. I was ready to start my own company. I think people tell me maybe I don't work well with authority. So I thought it was best for me to go out on my own and start my own company. And I love the category better for you, everything in the food and beverage. I'm a super consumer. Like everything you've seen on Shark Tank's like in my pantry. And so when I was thinking of ideas and what type of product it would be, I just kept coming back to tequila. I'd walk up and down the aisles of my local store and I'm like, I just don't see a lot of like innovation, even like bottle designers is really unique. It just wasn't speaking to me. I didn't want like skulls and agave fields. Marketing using like dark club scenes and like scantily clad women like just did not resonate with me as a consumer. So I just saw like an opportunity to like bring just a little bit of a different perspective to a category. And really, when I couldn't find an additive-free tequila that appealed to the taste profiles that I like. So at the time, there weren't as many additive-free tequilas. And the ones that were out there, I thought were more alcohol forward, had more bite. And I wanted something that was like really easy to drink because, I mean, I don't mix it in like a sugary margarita. If you put it in a, sugary margarita, you can put like anything in there. It doesn't matter as much. But if you like to drink it on the rocks or with some soda water, you really have to have like a good quality tequila that also like doesn't give you tequila face.
Well,
hate tequila face.
Yeah. While we're on that subject, what additives should consumers be aware of that if they are purchasing different spirits and things like that they're consuming, maybe they don't know?
Right. Like you wouldn't know in tequila that they allow up to 1% to be additives and still call it 100% agave tequila. So you start with that. Like it's not a mixto, like the bad tequila, got you sick when you're younger, but even 100% agave tequila, they're allowed to add additives without putting on the label. Now, the reason it's significant is people can say, well, it's just 1%, but they put like industrial strength sweeteners. So it actually does impact the taste a lot. Now listen, everyone should drink whatever they like, but I just think they should know what they're drinking. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't like artificial sweeteners in anything I eat. I mean, I rather have sugar in my food than like, I don't want aspartame. So knowing that you could put things that are like artificial sweeteners in tequila, and I don't really know the regulations on like every other spirit, but over tequila, they fall in like 4 categories. So it'd be like sweeteners, glycerin, oak extract, and caramel coloring. So things that maybe it looks like it's more aged because they put coloring in or it has an oak extract. So it smells like it's more aged and they're not really going through the aging process. So I just think, having more transparency and getting and knowing what it is that you're drinking. And then you may still choose to drink tequila with vanilla extract in it, but that's up to you.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that we've come to realize with our podcast being the Bourbon and Business Podcast in the spirit space, we're not selling spirits, but, we talk about them. And so we've learned that there's a lot of legal issues in the alcohol space. Talk to our listeners a little bit about navigating those and maybe some things that were some hurdles that you had to overcome in getting the business off the ground.
Yes. Well, there is a lot in this, right? We were federally regulated by the 3-tier distribution system. Every state operates like its own country. There's very few advantages coming in as an outsider, but because I have a legal background, I was kind of able, because, my past life, I was a lawyer, I could navigate like the regulations and figure it out on my own. I did like all my own registrations and filings and importer licensing and all that. You still need legal counsel. Like there's still things that come up that you need, guidance on. But even though it's hard, that's one of the things that I feel like I was probably able to navigate maybe a little more easily because of my background.
Mhm.
But it's, in every state you go in, there's like everything they operate completely differently. The marketing laws, everything is, different by state.
Yeah, it's the Wild West sometimes is what it feels like when you're looking at that kind of stuff. And it's crazy too, because it's like the industry is billions and billions of dollars every year, and you'd think they'd streamline it a little bit more, but it's it's heavily regulated, which is a good thing, and it partly needs to be, but at the same time, can we create some uniformity there? Like you said, every state is just completely different. But what goes into the process of one of your bottles, right? So like from kind of start to finish, walk us through quickly of like how it's different.
Yes. And it is tequila is so interesting because you're not making like a neutral grain spirit. Like there is so much that goes into it. It's really, it's very resource and labor intensive, the process. So you start with selecting agave. Even the first step is like, you want to select, like for us, mature agave with really high sugar content levels. So you have like great, that's the basis of everything. That's what's going to make the juice. We have a famous female master distiller in Mexico, Ana Maria Romero Mina, that creates our taste profiles and runs our production runs. And we don't buy bulk tequila. Like we run every run for ourselves. So you start with the agave. And everything matters, like from how they cut the agave, like how much they leave on of the leaves and how close they cut it to the heart. There's that step. Then we go into cooking. We use autoclaves. But in fact, I posted on LinkedIn recently just to show like how much agave is used to make like one small run of like 3,000 cases, like 40 tons of agave. It's a lot, right? When I say it's resource intensive. So you cook it. Then you go through the milling process. And those are not necessarily unique to us, except for maybe brands that speed the process up. They use different methods of like kind of cooking and milling it. Then after that, an extraction through milling, it goes in fermentation. Now that's like a really critical step in getting the aroma profile and the taste profile that we particularly want. So like we use a proprietary strain of yeast and then blend it. The extra steps and why our process takes longer is also kind of our differentiator. So we require after distillation, and tequilas are generally double distilled. We require to stabilize for a minimum of 30 days so that it kind of blends well. So we stabilize it. Sometimes tequila goes right from distillation and bottle, like a Blanco generally would go right into bottles. We stabilize it. And then even for our Blanco, we rest it. Very few Blancos go into wood. We rest our Blanco in bourbon barrels for a short time. So it's a really unique part of the process. And it's really short. It kind of kisses the wood, but that's what gives it the sweeter notes like caramel and vanilla and rounds it out without using any additives. And then our Rosa Reposado is really unique because it actually they go into French rosé wine barrels as opposed to going to bourbon barrels. Generally, aged tequilas go into bourbon barrels. We put our Reposado into French rosé wine barrels. So it creates like a rose gold hue, a really different taste profile too.
Did you come up with all of these different ideas, or were these like suggestions, or did you just read? I mean, how do you like? My brain doesn't go, you know what? This would be good if I put it in a French oak wine barrel.
That actually was, that was one of my brilliant or not so brilliant ideas. Yes. When I'm like, I like rosé wine and I like tequila. Can we age in rosé wine barrels?
That's
because
wild.
I'm an outsider. I had no idea rosé wine is a young wine. It very rarely ever goes into wood. So I had to like scour the planet to find rosé wine that's actually fermented in wood barrels. So we finally located them in the south of France. What they do is Pinot Noirs made in these barrels. They use them one time to make rosé wine, and I'm able to get them one time a year every January and get them shipped from France to California and from California to Mexico. So that's probably why no one else is doing it, because it's a total pain. And there are so few rosé wine barrels available.
Wow.
Nice. Well, tell our listeners a little bit about, so you went from the legal world, which is the law is or should be. It's pretty, black and white. It is what it is. To becoming the founder of a company where there's a lot of unknown and things that you got to figure out. What was that like for you making that transition?
Yes. Well, what best prepared me for the constant pivots and unknown? Being a mom.
Being a mom.
No day ever goes according to plan. I was in the middle of a photo shoot here when I got a call from the school nurse and I had to run in the middle of like leaving all these people at my house and go and pick up my son from school, bring him home, get him the doctor, like while everything's going on. So, as we know, no day goes according to plan when you're a parent. And I think that's the same in startups. So I think that well prepared me for just always being able to problem solve and come up with plan B and then plan C. And I think that's really the name of the game when you have a startup company.
And you can't let anything phase you too much, specifically as a parent too. Like it's you just have to plan on it not working, like it's going to be great if my idea works, but if it doesn't, we're just going to have to roll with it and come up with something on the fly. So, and that's what CEOs have to do a majority of the time, especially founders too.
Totally.
Well, I think it's a good time for a bourbon break.
For sure.
Your thoughts on it?
So the Naked Malt blended malt Scotch whiskey, to me, it has like a soft drink aftertaste. Does that make sense? Like if you take a sip of Coke, not like the burn from the carbonation, but like a sip of flat Coke. We'll put it that way. Like if you've ever had like a flat Coke or Pepsi or something and you just get like the syrup aftertaste, that's kind of what I'm feeling here. So it was okay. It's very smooth for a Scotch. I guess that's the malt and the blended in it, but I'm going to land at a 0.0 just because the smell literally made me gag when I took a whiff of the bottle. So
yeah, and it gets the smell, and some people like it, but when you especially if you go to like a bourbon distillery tour, when it first comes out, when it's clear still, it still has
actually like aged.
Yeah, it still has that smell to it, and a lot of people like that. And the more sips you take of this, it's actually like I'm starting to like this more. So
that's the alcohol.
Maybe, but if you're wanting to get a bottle of this, I think it is a good choice. You won't be disappointed.
And it is an 86 proof, so it's not just going to burn the roof off your mouth at all.
Well, tell us a little bit about tequila. We've kind of seen a resurgence of it here in the market, especially you go to bars now, and like that are nice cocktail bars that are making crafted drinks, and a lot of times they're replacing the old fashioned. They'll have a tequila old fashioned. I mean, a lot of things are going on with tequila. Where do you think that's coming from? You think the tequila people are just marketing better, or do you think it's just a better drink?
Oh gosh, loaded question here when I'm talking to two bourbon guys, huh? But one, I love a tequila old fashioned. In fact, I'm sipping on our añejo, special reserve añejo, and someone made an old fashioned with this. They actually made it was like a bananas Foster old fashioned. I think it could be hands down my favorite drink I've ever had. But you see menus, and I think now the difference is it used to be you'd only see tequila in margaritas or palomas maybe on menus of Mexican restaurants. And what I think has happened is that people have kind of expanded that repertoire, that like it actually goes with like lots of other cuisine. And so as opposed to maybe just looking at replacing things, I look at it as like, I was just in LA and I was at a sushi restaurant and like 3 of the cocktail drinks were made with tequila. And so even though people before maybe wouldn't have seen that fitting there, I think that's the difference, is that they're seeing the tequila really fits into I went to a Mediterranean restaurant, a bunch of tequila based cocktails. So I think maybe it's just more expanding like how it fits and works with a lot of different types of cuisine, as opposed to maybe it used to be that anyone with, everyone would think like, well, we only would get it, only order a margarita in a Mexican restaurant.
Do you think because The Rock came out with his tequila brand, I think he's since sold it. And then Kendall Jenner came out with a brand too. Do you think any of that superpower celebrity awareness had something to do with the resurgence as well? Or is it more along the lines of you were talking about the subtleties in it?
Yes. So, and The Rock still has his brand and Kendall Jenner has her brand. I'm not going to recommend them, but don't worry, they're doing fine. But I actually think they're fine. They're all good. So is George Clooney. And I think actually Casamigos is the one that kind of expanded the breadth of like who was trying tequila. So
Gotcha.
I think the celebrity brought a lot more eyeballs to it, and I think expanded the category. And now a lot of people, because they started drinking it, they started like actually looking into it more and like becoming more curious, and then discovering smaller brands and emerging brands and higher quality brands and things like that, because they all of a sudden got exposed to like, tequila.
Yeah. Do you ever foresee it being like the bourbon industry is? I mean, when you think, bourbon, there's tons of small brands that you've just absolutely never heard of. They're local. It's like craft brewery at times, it's just, there's like micro brands and stuff that are only in like one city and things like that. So do you ever foresee tequila getting to that level? I mean, there's been a huge growth in it.
Right. And I think there probably are, there are a lot of really small brands. There are definitely going to be brands in here, in Mexico, everywhere that I've never heard of. Right. So I do think you have like family owned distilleries there that could be smaller. I think a little bit of the difference is because of tequila's appellation of origin and having to be made in certain regions of Mexico. When you see all these brands, I think now, I don't know the exact number, before it was like 210 distilleries. Like there are not that many distilleries that are actually producing all of the brands.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a little bit different as opposed to like just small like pop-ups. And because it's regulated also in Mexico by the regulatory body there, the CRT. So there's so much that goes into it that you don't have all these like you have smaller distilleries, but not the plethora that like someone can all of a sudden pop up and have like a distillery has go through all these like certification process. And it's like a little more cumbersome.
Right. That makes sense.
Well, tell our listeners we have a lot of business owners that listen to this, a lot of people that are just founding their business.
Or thinking of founding their business.
So you come up with a concept, you say, hey, this is a great concept. People have told me, hey, this is a great product. My tequila is phenomenal. How do you start marketing that product and getting it out to the market where actually people can find you and actually purchase your product?
Yeah. And listen, those are all the hard parts. First, I always tell every business owner, like first, like just do a ton of research, like to understand the landscape, try and build a supportive community. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you need to have some people who are fans of the brand behind you. And then I look at a community building as how we build some awareness too. Becoming involved, like in a lot of networks. I became involved in spirits organizations and female founder networks, in consumer product groups. The more you can get out there, I applied to every pitch competition, every accelerator. Like I look at it as learning and building some awareness, especially when you're a small brand and have to do it like really scrappily, figuring out ways that you can do it, because we're not going to have like a Super Bowl ad. I'm sorry, no one disappointed. But, figuring out the ways to kind of like start building it a little bit at a time and staying focused. So we can't be everywhere. We're not in, a lot of states. We're in 10 states. That is like way plenty for us. And because I think the more you can stay focused and try and build in certain areas, your own backyard, whatever you can do to build awareness in smaller areas is helpful, because it's really difficult to build like some kind of like national brand awareness as a small brand.
No, that's for sure. Yeah. For sure. And I think that kind of like segues into my next question of like how you help other female founders and how you help support them. And what has that been like for you?
Yeah, for me, one is kind of paying it forward. I've been really fortunate that I've had a lot of women who have been willing to like give me guidance, and other female founders, other female leaders. And we became a certified B Corp as a social impact company. So it is like, we're committed to it. It is part of our mission, is to elevate other women in business. Like, what can we do? And I think I hope that we exemplify, there are little things that people can do that are not huge efforts, because we're not a huge brand. You don't have to have like huge funding and do something big. Like we do give back programs. We do 2 cocktail give back programs every year to help support. One is for breast cancer awareness. One is to help support like the We Bank, which is that's the entity that certifies companies as woman owned. it's little things. It's that I answer the DMs or the emails or the messages, or I make a referral for another brand, or if I like working with an agency and I, refer them, I connect to people I think would be a good connection. All those little things are collectively really impactful if a lot of people were doing them. So we do, we do give backs. We've helped fund like pitch competitions for female founders. And really also I pop up at a lot of events. So I always say I don't do a lot of like big boozy festivals, but I show up at a lot of professional women's groups where I get to share a story and, share tequila. So that's kind of, I think that's what's been actually probably the best part of the entire journey is like, I just met so many incredible people, and then I get invited to be in the room with like really inspiring, amazing women. And I also am a strong believer in peer-to-peer mentoring. So when you talk about business owners, the reason it's great to listen to podcasts like yours is because I think you learn the most from someone who's like in it and doing it. And so I have this, like tomorrow, I actually have a meeting. I put together my own little cohort of other women who own spirits brands. There's not a lot of us. And we have a cohort where we can share learnings, resources, what's working, what's not. Because I think there are a lot of consultants out there, but the people I learn the most from are the people who are like really in the dirt, in the thick of it, and that we share learnings.
Love that.
For sure. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come on. We do like to take this time. Will you tell our listeners, I guess, what states you may be in? You may not know the 10 off the top of your head, you may, but what states you're in, and then how they can find you?
Yes. Well, first, you can find us on InspiroTequila.com, INSPIRO, tequila.com. And we ship to 46 states, so we can ship to most of your states that you're in. And if you're in Illinois, Michigan, Missouri, Tennessee, Massachusetts, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, California, Texas, you can find us in stores. So, but you can also find us online and also connect with me. I'm a big fan, especially connecting with other founders of LinkedIn. So find me on LinkedIn, Mara Smith. That's where I hang out the most.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate the time. And to all our listeners, however you stream this podcast, if you would give us a rating and follow us on social media, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.